Wisconsin's 25th District Senator Romaine Quinn is joining us, live from Washington, D.C. this morning, Thursday, July 25th, 2024. For DrydenWire.com, I'm Ben Dryden, and you're watching DrydenWire Live, presented by Americans for Prosperity, Wisconsin. AFP Wisconsin works to reignite the American dream and break down government barriers that hold us back from our full potential. Find an event near you at afpwisconsin.com and join AFP to fight for more freedom for all Wisconsinites. Senator Quinn joins us live on the last Thursday of each month for a chat, but this month he's joining us live from Washington, D.C., where earlier this week he testified before Congressman Tom Tiffany's subcommittee on the importance of elevating the Apostle Islands National Lakeshore to a designation as a national park. Romaine, good morning. It's really weird seeing that background. I was wondering where you're going to do this show from, but I've seen that background before. Where are you?
Yeah, I'm sitting in Congressman Tiffany's chair.
Is that a little foreshadowing going on here?
No, it's just a comfortable chair.
Oh,
so,
Sure.
No, as you mentioned, I've been out here since the earlier part of the week. It's been a blast, a cool opportunity to see Tom in his element, to shadow him, and obviously participate in advancing a bill that I think is going to be great for our area. So it was a cool opportunity. I was happy to accept the invitation to buzz out here for a couple days.
Well, Tom comes on the second Thursday of each month, and so that was 2 weeks ago today, and he had talked about this, the national park thing. And then yesterday I put out a press release from his office and from your office regarding this. So if anyone didn't watch that show or didn't see these press releases, first, what is going on? What is this? I mean, until like a year ago, I didn't even know where the Apostle Islands were. I'd never even heard of them. I didn't know Wisconsin had islands or anything that would be referred to that.
Well, it's nature, so I figured you wouldn't know anything about it. Then you can't experience the Apostle Islands from inside. But no, as you know, the Apostle Islands, they're just a unique land formation. The islands right off of Bayfield there in LaPointe. Madeline Island's a part of it, but not included in this bill. And so the nice part is you can recreate year-round and enjoy the pristine beauty that they offer, the lighthouses, the clear water, the sea caves, enjoying them by kayak in the summer or enjoying the ice caves in the winter. I've been to them in the winter when we've had a decent winter and the ice has been good. You can crawl into these caves on the ice and see them from the inside as well. So just a gem of a place, that's why they're called the crown jewels of Wisconsin. So why would we not elevate them to the status that I think they deserve and that Tom thinks they deserve, and really bring that national attention to what we have that's kind of hidden right here in our own backyards.
So the reason you went to testify was because obviously in the 25th Senate District, which is still your district, for whenever that changes. Right. So that's in your district. And I'm sure there's probably a lot of his staff there this morning. You're in, a suit-ish. Looks like you have a sports coat on, and Tom's not there. They're probably wondering what's going on, what changed, what just happened. All of a sudden, this guy, just tell them it's Congress's take your state senator to work day today.
That's what
I'm going to tell him. Yep. But you're there because it's your district here as well, so we wanted you. So how did that work? Did you reach out to him? Does he reach out to you? Kind of walk us through this process, and then eventually I want to get to what did you testify about? I'm sure you had statistics and numbers and all that stuff. But first, how did this all come to be?
Yeah, so Tom, I think, has been working on this bill for over a year, engaging with stakeholders, and that was evident by the list of support for the bill. I think there's about 21 groups from chambers of commerce, economic development associations, townships in the area, so on and so forth, because it's going to have a region-wide impact, elevating the Apostle Islands to a national park, Wisconsin's first national park. We don't have one. Michigan and Minnesota both do, and we don't. So Tom reached out and said, hey, would you be interested in supporting this topic? It was a few months ago, and we examined it, didn't see any issues with it. Of course we would. And then it was, okay, well, I'm chair of the subcommittee. It's going to come through. We have people testifying. Would you come out and be willing to do that? So he heard 4 or 5 different bills, I think, yesterday. There's some issues in North Dakota, an issue in Virginia, some other places, and they all had a person there to talk about that particular issue. And so I was fortunate to be on that sub panel with them, testifying in front of that subcommittee on this bill, which was important. So it was cool to see Congressman Stauber from Minnesota next door. Obviously he's very familiar with our district. Him and Tom are close friends. So that was yesterday. So I got to sit in the committee. We actually had to break for questions because Tom had to run back to the floor. They were voting on some amendments on something else, and then came back 45 minutes later, and we finished our testimony. But just being here in the building, seeing the process, and seeing Tom in his element. I've known Tom for a long time. I was in the assembly when he was in the state senate, but just seeing how the people here know him, respect him, in his element, it's cool to see in person and be able to shadow him and take along.
Well, and you have a unique perspective because you have been in the assembly and now you're in the Senate down in Madison. Well, now you're not in Congress, but you're there.
Right.
What's the biggest change or difference that you're seeing? Is it just more people, a larger scale? What differences, kind of compare and contrast Madison to Washington, D.C.?
Yeah, well, I've only been here a couple of days, right? So I can't say I've got a full perspective, but the feeling I get right away too is kind of like you mentioned, it's like Madison on steroids, right? Everyone's got their staff, their offices, the way they run the floor in business is a little bit different, but very similar in a way. But the issues are different, right? I picked a great week to come out here. Bibi Netanyahu was out here giving his speech for the first time since Israel's been at war with Hamas. So I'm sitting in Tom's office watching Bibi, who's, a few hundred yards from me, give this phenomenal speech, about what's been going on in Israel and the relationship that our two countries have. And it brought back, my trip when I went to Israel. And so just seeing this in real time, like I always joke where like my parents, your parents, they always had those crazy national political events that they lived through and we read about in history books. And it's weird to think like we're living through one of those times right now. We're going to look back, 20, 30, 40 years from now. Like we were alive and I was in D.C. when, the week after Trump gets shot and Bibi's giving his speech in front of joint Congress. And here I'm a guy from Rice Lake getting to see it firsthand. So it is pretty cool.
Who was a mayor at like 20 or 19?
Yep.
Wasn't it? Were you 19 or 20 when you were mayor?
I was 19 when I got elected.
19,
yep.
Yeah. And now you're all grown up.
Yeah, someday. I have some white in my beard now, so I'm getting there. I'm getting there. Yeah.
All right. So how did you prepare to give your testimony, I suppose, when you testified? How did you prepare for this? Was it, man, I don't know, I'm going to Google some stuff real quick. How do you get that information and what was your testimony and how long did it last?
So everyone's allowed 5 minutes to present. And then there's questions after that. So we just worked with our staff jointly with Tom's staff to kind of go over the facts of not only the bill, but what it would or wouldn't do. And one of the important statistics, which is one of the reasons that I supported this, is a study by the National Park Service shows that when an area is elevated to that status, maybe it was a state park that becomes a national park, just the notoriety and the exposure it gets. On average, we see an increase of 14% in visitation and tourism spending within 60 miles of that site, and an additional 11% job growth inherently from that. And so when you talk about 60 miles outside of Bayfield, that's a big area. It's going to impact Ashland. It's going to impact Superior. It's going to impact Hayward and that whole northern region when we have more visitors. So I think there's been some concern I've heard from others, like, how do we handle more people? Well, that's a good problem to have, right? We make our living, a lot of us scratch our living up north out of the tourism industry. So we will find a way to bring more people in, to get them to spend their money, more heads and beds, more food purchases, gas purchases. People are going to be flying in from Minneapolis, Duluth, driving up from Madison to see the Apostle Islands, because we know there's whole cohorts of people that travel the country and try to see every national park. And so now we are going to be one of those destinations, which is going to be huge.
It is. Good morning, Mike Schaefer and Representative Gabe Magnifici as well. That's 14%. So just by having, so what is it classified as now? I think I said at the intro, what was it?
It's a national shoreline.
National Lakeshore shoreline to a national park. 14% tourism increase.
Yep.
And is it just, that seems high to me. Is it just because, hey, as soon as you put that on the map, like, I don't want to go to that place, and then all of a sudden, like, nothing changes except maybe you put up like a visitor center, or I don't know, I'm sure you have to do some other things, but the core of it is the same. But now I'll go and watch it. That's it? Just the designation alone will increase 14%?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the islands aren't going to change with the designation, right?
Right.
Except for the signage we change out. But yeah, there's literally people, and I'm sure there's going to be stories on it right now. There's going to be national stories on the Apostle Islands as well. And just think of the people that, come to the Berkey that may not have experienced the islands yet. They're coming from dozens of countries around the world.
As long as we're there, we should run up there. Got it.
Right. And I think when we're coming off of COVID, we're coming off of a poor winter. A lot of our businesses, especially our lodging, really took it in the shorts this last winter. So to have an opportunity to elevate a place nearby, which could inject some important cash into our economy, I think is really, really important.
All right. And then you said 11% job growth. And these numbers and statistics were kind of compared to when you saw other ones do something similar, right?
Yep,
so
those numbers 11% were put out by the
job
National
growth.
Park Service. Yep.
Now, is that just job growth, of course, like at the location? Or is that also like it can't be like the 60-mile radius thing, like the tourism statistic, right?
Yeah, it's all correlated, right, within that region. So obviously the bulk of, it's going to spread out, right? Because, Bayfield doesn't have the capacity to house and keep that many extra people in a given year based on, what they currently have for hotels and lodging. So those people are going to stay in Cable, and they're going to stay in Hayward, and they're going to drive over from Superior. And you're going to see that ripple effect across the Northwest region. So everyone's going to benefit from it. Absolutely.
Those are huge percentages. I mean, I never would have guessed that. I really wouldn't have.
Right.
14% tourism.
And that's just the economic benefit, right?
What are the other benefits?
Well, I think just raising that level from lakeshore to a national park, really does make sure those islands are going to be protected and preserved forever, for everyone to enjoy for generations to come.
So this is at the very beginning you were talking about a region-wide impact. Those are some of the things that you're referring to. So far, from your knowledge on this, and I know it's just been a short amount of time, is this pretty much supported? I mean, there's always somebody that's, this is a stupid idea, we shouldn't do it. Have you heard that yet, and what's that argument?
I was at a fundraiser the other night for Eric Hovde, actually, and I talked to a town chairman from the area, and obviously they have just inherent concern. If we have more traffic, what do we do about infrastructure, things like that? Mm-hmm. It's not like we're opening a sawmill and you're going to have loads of timber on semis beating your infrastructure up, right? If we have more passenger vehicles coming down our town roads to get to this location, that's not as big of a deal. And, if we have growing pains, if all of a sudden we see this huge influx of people coming to this region, then yeah, let's talk about that. Let's work on what are those issues we're having with people and figure out how to solve it, right? If someone wants to hand me $100, I'll figure out how to spend it. So we shouldn't be keeping these people away. We want these people to come, spend their money, stay in our communities, realize what we have to offer, and maybe realize that northern Wisconsin is a place they want to live. Our schools have declining enrollment. We can't fill jobs that we have. Exposing our area to potential new families, I think, is a great opportunity for every issue that we're always constantly trying to work on.
Well, I do see one problem or potential problem that impacts me directly, because those are the only problems I care about. And that is
the people that drive through Spooner.
People that drive through Spooner. Oh, my goodness. That's all right.
We'll put a sign up that says, don't get off of 53. Just keep going north. Don't go through Spooner.
Yeah, but that was the same problem that we've had here in terms of like more traffic. But, that's a good problem to have. I mean, we complain about it. It's not actually horrific. It really isn't. We're just not used to it. I mean, you go to the cities, you hit like 17 stoplights when you're just trying to go like 2 miles.
Right.
And it takes you 20 minutes. It's not that big a deal to wait that long, but it's easy to complain about it.
Right, and our sales tax revenue is important for everyone. It's important
that's just it. That's why it's like we'll suck it up.
Roads,
because
infrastructure.
That's good. They all are going to stop somewhere. And that's good.
I want people from outside of Wisconsin to pay our bills. That's what I've always wanted, right? So the more we can leverage, about a third of our sales tax dollars come from people out of the state. So why not leverage that? And not only that, we recently tied our shared revenue upper to increase in sales tax. So if the sales tax goes up in Barron County or Bayfield County, 3-4%, every township and municipality is going to get a 3 to 4% bump in their shared revenue increase. So we tie that on purpose. So in the past, we wouldn't let communities raise their levy limit above net new construction. Levy limits are still in place. So there wasn't any growth in their revenue for the services that we all expect them to provide. But now with the new shared revenue package we passed last budget, the increase that they got is now tied forever to the growth in sales tax. Ooh. So if Bayfield County sees a growth of 10% in sales tax collections, every municipality is going to see a 10% upper in their previous increase that they got this last budget for shared revenue that funds roads, bridges, infrastructure, police officers, you name it. So sales tax revenue and getting other people to pay our bills is huge for our rural areas to help keep that infrastructure going.
What was it before?
It was never tied to anything. So if the legislature just gave you a bump, that's what you got, and you were happy. And the legislature hadn't given them a bump in 12 years. I think they actually kept cutting when the budget was tight. So shared revenue was going down and down and down. And then this budget, we gave everyone across the board a minimum 20% upper. And that 20% increase is now tied to the sales tax. So growth is huge. Growth is important. And like I said, if we can get people from Minnesota and Illinois and Michigan to pay our bills, I'm all about that.
Yeah, Mike has a good point. The increased revenue from tourists is how businesses pay to advertise.
Exactly.
See, there you go.
See?
It's a circle of life. People come through town, they get in an accident, everyone. They have to go to Spooner Health, and they advertise with us. See, it's a circle of life, Simba. That's how it goes.
Yes. Exactly.
So go back to the testimony. So you had to do 5 minutes. So this is you couldn't have zoomed in, right? I mean, you go all the way out there and for 5 minutes. Now, did you get questions afterwards that were asked or specifically to you?
Yeah, I know Congressman Stauber had a few questions, but I'm guessing there's going to be bipartisan support. I can't imagine this is controversial.
I can't either.
That being said, it is D.C., so God only knows what could happen to it. Yeah. It's so funny. I was afterwards, Tom had to go to the floor, and I followed him down there, and I think he broke a rule by letting me sit in the back room or something. But so I got to watch him on TV go testify on a couple amendments. And one of his bills he was dealing with, and he's been talking about this a lot because Rob Staffsholt has been, Chance Green has been, where the Federal Forest Service is shutting down roads in federal forest lands.
Yeah.
And so we've got, I think on average, the Federal Service, I don't know if it's the Forest Federal Service, shuts down 2,000 miles of public roads a year, which limits access to public land that you and I all own. And they've been doing that in the Schwamigan. And so Tom took a tour up there with Senator Staffsholt, with Chans and others, and brought this same subcommittee to go through and say, look, the Park Service is closing these roads. We can't get in there anymore. And people that pick blueberries, walk their dog, enjoy the public lands that you and I pay for, we don't have access. So he did an amendment to stop any more closures of the roads. And some congresswoman from Maine gets up and says, well, the Park Service needs the ability to close roads to protect water quality. And I'm like, God, this is Madison. People just make whatever they want up to oppose something that really shouldn't be opposed. It just, you can't even make this stuff up. So of course, Tom has to get back up. Hey lady, our water quality was good when the road was open. And it's still good today when the road's closed. Like, what are you talking about?
And especially Maine, that's interesting. It'd be different if it was, I don't know, some real urban place. But Maine is, I'm sure it's different, but at the same time, I could see probably some similarities, both Wisconsin and Maine, and just in terms of obviously geographically and northern and a lot of green. That's interesting.
Yep. So apparently shutting down a few logging roads in the Schwamigan Nicolay Forest is going to improve water quality, and that's why they have to stay shut down.
Well,
so it's like,
duh.
as I told Tom, I'm like, this is Madison, just on steroids. People can literally just say whatever they want, and it makes the news. It's like, jeepers.
All right, well, there's more I want to get to about your trip out to Washington, D.C. We'll do that in 15 seconds after a word from, one of our advertisers.
Compassion is at the center of everything we do. It's rooted in who we are and why we're here. It unites us as providers, neighbors, and as a community. Learn more at spoonerhealth.com.
So I'm thinking Mike only put that in there to remind me to run that commercial because sometimes I forget.
Yeah, if he's paying you to run it, I probably wouldn't forget that.
Yeah, I keep forgetting sometimes. Yeah. So you did your 5 minutes, and where I was going with that was you put a lot of time, energy, effort, and plus the travel to get there. then you do this. Was it worth it? Is this not just an experience, but do you feel like you actually, I think that may have helped, and I think that was virtuous.
Yeah, I mean, I think, Tom, you need someone from the area to speak to an issue. Everyone had, someone there. North Dakota had a commissioner of public lands there. Virginia had someone there. You need someone there to tell your story besides the congressman doing that. And so, I was happy to come out and do that for Tom, if he needed that support. So, yeah, I think it went really well. I was on that list of 21 plus entities that supported this proposal, and so hopefully they can hit the ground running. So yeah, I think it was definitely worth the trip. The experiences, what I got to see while I was here, the protests that were around the building.
I've heard about. I saw read that during Netanyahu's speech yesterday that there were protests everywhere.
Yeah, and I don't think there was as many as they'd thought, but I know they wrecked like the Union Station. We were actually going to go down there and help clean up this morning, but they were already on it. So the spray paint, the burning of the American flag, and that was frustrating too. I watched the Congresswoman from Michigan, holding her sign up every time Bibi was talking, war criminal or you're committing genocide, and it's just, what planet are we on where we don't defend our most important ally in the Middle East as they've been attacked on their own soil? And 39 Americans were also killed. Like 39 Americans out of those 1,300 were killed. We should want them to go through and do everything they can to eliminate any threat ever again. And here we've got our own men and women in Congress holding war criminal signs up while he's talking about defending his own people. It's just disgusting.
It's surreal.
That's the politics
it's really surreal
today.
Yes.
Right.
100%.
I think the best part of his speech was when he literally called them out, because we've known now for a fact that a lot of these protesters are paid by the Iranian government. We know they're funneling money through groups to pay protesters to show up on college campuses,
I didn't know
at
that.
capitals in D.C. Yeah, so they're literally paid for. And so he literally called out, everyone here supporting these protesters, you are Iran's useful idiot. Congratulations. And I'm like, boom, finally, someone says exactly what the rest of us wish we could say. And it was just, it was a surreal speech, and it was very cool to be out here to hear it.
What else, while you were out there, breakfast? Were you staying at a hotel? Are you continental breakfasts? Or are you seeing sights? I know it's a very, very short trip, like basically a 2-day, if not even quite 2-day trip, right? You went out Wednesday, I believe, and you're coming, Tuesday. You went out Tuesday.
Yep.
Yeah, Tuesday. Okay. So it's a real quick trip, but what else have you done since you were out there, or while you were out there?
Well, I decided to give myself food poisoning before I left. So I've eaten like one time since I've been out here. So that's been fun. But picked a great time to feel like garbage. But no, it's been a fun trip. But I haven't been able to enjoy the food like I wanted to. But after session, I know like in the evenings, went out with Tom and met a few of his colleagues. It was cool to be in the tunnels underneath, going back and forth to the Capitol, to the building.
Yes.
Walking by, and all of a sudden there's Dan Crenshaw from Texas, and it's like all the people you see on Fox News, and you're like, whoa, like I'm the weirdo. Can I take a picture with you? Like I followed you all this time.
That's like going to the Oscars or something. Like I see all these people on TV, and now they're like right there. It's weird.
Right. And Tom sits on the Judiciary Committee, which was grilling FBI Director Wray yesterday regarding the assassination attempt on President Trump. And so while Tom was talking, I got to sit in the gallery and watch. And here he's sitting next to Congressman Massey and Congressman Roy from Texas, and both phenomenal people. And I follow their Facebook pages. They give great speeches. And it's just like, it's a surreal moment. Like, holy crap, I'm just feet away from these people that we watch on the news all the time. But, I'm actually in the building getting to see this firsthand. History in the making, literally history in the making. So,
and you got to be there for it.
Yep.
In the building.
Yep. In the building.
The tunnels, I think, is that the only place where media can be? Isn't that where usually, am I understand, did you see media down there? I thought the tunnels was the only spot media can talk to congresspersons.
I think maybe on the entrance and exits of it. I'm not sure.
Maybe.
A lot of those tunnels were just open and people were just booking her back and forth. It was a busy day for a lot of them.
So the tunnels go from like some of the buildings over to the Capitol. All the buildings that surround
it.
it.
So you're not walking across the street. And,
sure.
Yep. Yeah.
And
so Tom gets his steps in for sure. When he's
steps in.
There, nice. Back. He's in a different building for a committee, and then back to the floor, and then back to the office. And he's got great staff, phenomenal staff, super competent, do a great job representing the district. So, I mean, we are, again, Tom's a personal friend of mine, worked with him a lot in Madison, but, seeing him in his element, in action, like, we have great representation out here.
I know Caroline on his staff. Caroline, can't think of her last name right now. Have you met her? You probably have.
Yeah. Oh, yep. I've met her before.
Yeah,
too.
she's
there's quite a few in this office that I hadn't met yet. And I know,
sure.
Maggie from Wausau,
Sure.
he has in-district staff. He's got staff over in Hudson. Obviously, I stole Stacy from him. Stacy works for me now.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, he's got great staff out here, and especially in this game, it's a whole other animal. Like, you think Madison is gross and swampy. Like, if you don't have good staff like that you can trust, that's there to protect you, protect the office and the interests of your district versus just being there to catch the next rung of the ladder, you could be in a world of hurt. So fortunately, I think Tom, both in district and out here, have super dedicated staff to doing the job.
So you're going to get on a flight here shortly, right? You come back today?
Yep. As soon as we're off, I got to head back to the Reagan Airport, and I'm bouncing back for the week.
All right. Yeah, you're an hour ahead, so it's almost 10 o'clock where you are.
Yep.
Is there anything, before we wrap this up, obviously we've been talking about your trip out to D.C., but is there anything going down in Madison or that's happening right now that you want to make sure we talked about?
Yeah, obviously Madison's pretty quiet.
Yep.
The legislature's pretty much full swing in campaign mode. Not me, because I'm in the middle of my term yet. But I want to remind folks once again, as I do every single time, the importance of voting in the upcoming August primary. August 13th is a Tuesday. Literally every one of your listeners is going to see a primary, I'm pretty sure. So you've got the primary in the 75th, the Burnett and Polk County primary. Yeah. You've got the one in the 67th where I'm wholeheartedly supporting Dave Armstrong and Barron in Northern Dunn County. You've got the primary over in the old Jimmy Boy seat. And I know the Democrats have a primary in Angie's seat. And there's no primary for Republicans.
Okay, because what? Because in our six-county coverage area, the only primaries are Republicans, and all of those races are primaries. I mean, they all have at least two people running, but there was no Democrats that had more than one Democrat running. But that's right.
Angie's old seat there is.
Yeah, because 73rd is right now still a part of our area, but actually not anymore because now it's that sliver up in so that's Bayfield, isn't it? Bayfield and Douglas. Is it covered?
Yep, it goes basically a Superior to Bayfield seat. They drew the North Shore into a super blue seat, which is exactly the same thing they've been complaining about for 10 years. But we've already had that conversation on here. So upcoming election. I'm also sitting on a work study committee regarding the potential of a crane season in Wisconsin. We know other states have crane hunting seasons. Wisconsin has not. It's very controversial.
You shoot cranes?
A lot of people do. Just you can't in Wisconsin, right?
That's weird. Doesn't seem like a thing you'd want to shoot. I understand. I'm not a hunter, so I don't know anything about that stuff. It's just I'm thinking I don't know. That's weird. I do know a lot of hunters. I've never heard, hey, I'm going to go out to Wyoming crane hunting or wherever it's legal. I've just never heard anyone even talk about crane hunting. That's a thing?
Sure. Well, it could be, Ben, and you could be one of the first to try it in Wisconsin. I think we should do a DrydenWire special on Ben Dryden crane hunting in Wisconsin. Now, again, that's if we choose to go with the season. It's more of an informational community to get it all out there because cranes do a significant amount of damage to crops. We know the population is there for a season. Other states have a season. They do commit a lot of damage agriculturally, and we hunt almost every other species. So why are they any different? But there's concerns. I don't have a desire to shoot one. I think they're prehistoric and pretty awesome. I don't have an urge to kill a crane. Ribeye of the sky. I've been told they're awesome to eat, but we'll see what happens. So I sit on that one.
Prime rib of the sky. What the what?
There you go. Prime rib, even better than ribeye.
Well, I do love prime rib. Not gonna lie.
I'll take Larry's word for it.
Well, if it becomes legal, then you can shoot it and I'll eat it.
Deal.
I've never heard of that. I'm going to literally have to Google because maybe I'm remembering what they even look like. But I'm pretty
really
sure I remember.
And they're really tall.
Yeah, and they're
Long
kind of
legs,
almost majestic looking. It's
right.
That's interesting.
To
But yeah,
each
you're
their
right.
own,
We pretty much hunt everything
But-
else because, America, guns.
Right. Well,
Cool.
and again, hunting is conservation, right?
I know.
We don't shoot to kill, we shoot to conserve. So hunters are the biggest conservationists in the world. The money that they spend actually saves species. So the people who don't want to hunt anything actually kill them off. So hunters are the best conservationists there are. So
Really?
like every species, we don't hunt them based on our feelings. We hunt them based on scientific facts of they need to be managed like everything else. So except wolves, if you're totally on the far left, you think they should never be hunted ever.
No,
So
I'm actually...
that's another one.
You have 100%. I mean, that's a no-brainer for me. Please, shoot some of these wolves. Like that's a no-brainer. I don't know how anybody... Anyway,
We're
that's
working
all
on
I'm
it. That's a great question to ask Tammy Baldwin before November. If she actually means it during election time. So
We'll find out. I don't know if she ever comes on. Awesome. Romaine, thanks so much for coming on. Live from Washington, D.C.
Thanks for
How
having
cool
me.
is that? All right, so special thank you to Wisconsin's 25th District Senator Romaine Quinn joining us live from Washington, D.C. and coming on and taking the time for a chat today. I'll see you right back here on Tuesday when Barron County Sheriff Chris Fitzgerald and I'll be back for our latest episode of Positive Tuesday with Ben and Fitzy. So until then, thank you for watching, and as always, have a blessed day.